Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Minnesota Twins discussion video. September's coming, and that means call-ups. So we're going to talk about 4 players today who I think could make the move from AAA to the big leagues and maybe help the team out. So obviously, you know that there's guys on the 40-man roster already that will be moved up, like players like Poppin, Smeltzer, Thorpe, all these pitchers that have kind of they've played already, and they'll probably be moved up for sure, especially because, you know, we need pitching. Not that it has been as bad as it was, but to keep guys fresh, it's just going to be easier to keep those guys who have already been to the majors up there instead of keep cycling them through the AAA system. So I've got 4 new guys that we haven't seen yet in the majors this year. Let me know what you guys think of these guys. I know there's some high anticipation for some of these guys in the future, but we're going to go through it. I do want to put out there, I do not think Royce Lewis or Alex Kirilloff will be up here in September. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they decide to pull them up, but I haven't read anything or seen anything where those guys are going to get a chance this year, and that kind of makes sense. You know, if anything, move them up to AAA while these guys, well, I guess there's not that many games left, so that doesn't matter, but I don't see them making the jump from AA to the majors this September. Maybe next year, but I don't see it this year. So here's 4 guys that we're gonna go through. We're gonna start with Jorge Alcala. There we go. Because this guy, he was just promoted to AAA along with Gratterall. You guys are a fan of him, but this guy just promoted to AAA. He's got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That's what we need. So now, is he the greatest pitcher out there? Same with Gratterall. Probably not, but they're really good, right? And they could probably help us because, here's the thing, we don't have a guy who could throw 100 miles an hour on our team. Trevor May is the only guy who can come close, 97, 98 sometimes. Of course, Romero, he got it up there. But really, you know, we don't have a guy who's going to come in, I mean, even Rogers, who's going to come in and throw triple digits. So that could help because especially when you've got a guy like Ryan Harper who goes out there and throws that 71-mile-an-hour curveball, you bring in this guy following him, that could be lights out. It could be really bad, but I think it could be really good. Or you switch it, right? This guy comes in before Harper, and all of a sudden now they're waiting on a 71-mile-an-hour curveball. So let's go through this guy's stats. In AAA, of course, he's only pitched in 4 games. He hasn't done the worst. I mean, he has not allowed an earned run in 6 innings. He's given up 3 hits, 1 walk, and struck out 9. That is really good. That is an opponent batting average of 143, a whip of .67. Very, very good. In AA, these might be more telling of his stats. He pitched in 26 games. He started 16, 102 innings, 114 hits, 67 earned runs, 12 home runs, 105 strikeouts to 37 walks, a whip of 1.4, and opponent batting average of 284. Really, that's not bad. His ERA was 5.87, of course, at 0 this year. He does have a win this year, but, you know, the win statistic is whatever. So, is it the greatest? No. But this could be a guy who we could get some experience this year and really set him up for maybe if he does well in the postseason this year. Otherwise, you know, we're looking forward to next year, right? I think this year is a year where we could make a push, right? We have done well in our games where we can make a push to the postseason and do well. I don't know if we could get to the World Series this year, but next year is the big picture. If we can do everything to set us up for next year, we have a bunch of guys coming back, fix a couple of pieces here and there, we could be solid next year, especially with a guy who could throw 100 miles an hour. So speaking of which, let's go to talk about Gratterall, because this guy, he could throw 100 miles an hour. He's thrown triple digits a lot this year, and he was just moved. I mean, this guy has moved all over the place. He has moved from AA. He went back to rookie ball for rehab, but then he came back to AAA. He was promoted at the same time as Alcala, and yeah, this guy's good. This guy's really good. So he did have a rough start. Okay, let me say that. He did have a rough start in his last time up because, well, I don't really know why, but he pitched in 4 innings this year for AAA since being moved up, 2 of them against the same team. Now, I think that might have something to do with it, where the Buffalo Bison, they've seen him before. They got on top of him a little bit more this time, but he's given up 3 earned runs, actually, I could just look here. He's given up 3 earned runs in 4 innings, but they all came in 1 inning in his last start. And he has, 6 strikeouts, I believe. This is an awful page. I can't even see it. 1, 3, 4, 5 strikeouts. There we go. To 2 walks. That's not bad, of course, only in a very minimal start. And there's not much to really say about this guy. I mean, you know that he's going to throw 100 miles an hour. He's in there to be a flamethrower, very similar to the other guy. That's why we need these guys up in the majors to help with our bullpen. They're not going to throw every day, but I think they could throw the timing off because a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, that comes at you quick, right? And again, if you got Harper in there, you've got somebody like Hildenberger, if he comes back up, who throws so softly and is very finesse. Same with Romo. These guys could really spice things up, and it could just go finesse guy, power guy, finesse guy, power guy, Rogers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So those are 2 pitchers that I think could help the team because of their ability to throw the ball very, very hard. And then, of course, all the other pitchers that I've mentioned that will probably be recalled up. It makes sense that these guys would get a chance because they were just on AAA for just that little bit. They get that experience, and now they're ready to go. So that's just my opinion on the pitchers, though. Maybe you guys have a different opinion. Let me know. So we're going to talk about the next guy. You've heard of his name before, basically because of when we played against him in Chicago. It is Alejandro De Aza, and this guy has been praised a lot down in AAA by a lot of people. So he was a part of Indie Ball. If you guys don't know what Indie Ball is, it's basically like lower professional. The guys who are not good enough or just didn't make it to the majors. They've had their time in the majors. You know what I'm saying? So this guy, he was in Indie Ball, tore it up, and is now with the Rochester Red Wings, of course, in AAA. And he has done so well since coming there this season. He's played in only 29 games, right? So it's not the biggest, sample size. But in those 29 games, I mean, just in like the last, if you want to look at the last 15 games, he's batting over 300, almost 400. He's got an on-base percentage of 500, and he's got a slugging of 600. That's an OPS of 1,000 over his last 28 days. He's a guy who's really quick. He can steal some bases. He only has 3 on the season, but he's a guy who has a lot of speed. We all know this from Chicago, and he's a guy who could definitely help the team out. I mean, he is on a tear right now. He is, a 7-game hitting streak going right now. Very, very solid. I mean, this guy is going to help the team, right? Especially if Buxton is hurt still, this guy is going to help the team. If he, plays in the outfield, or if he just comes in to run a couple times, pinch hit maybe, pinch run, of course, this is going to be the guy to help us. And is he Buxton? Probably not. But another, if Buxton gets on base and this guy gets behind him and then Cave hits him home, or whatever, that is going to help us get some more wins, especially down the stretch here when, guys are going to be tired. Guys are hurt. We've had a lot of injuries this year. That's what's keeping, I think, like Brent Rooker from coming up to the majors this postseason, this September, is because of injuries. So you've got guys who have not been injured, who have really stepped it up and have been good, and I hope that they can help us win, especially because he is a guy who has speed and can really help us in the outfield or on the base paths. The last guy I want to talk about, maybe a surprise to you, Xander Wheel. Have you heard of him? He's been tearing it up in AAA as well. He's not quite as good as De Aza, I would say, but he's played in a lot more games, which maybe evens out the stats a little bit. In 121 games this year with Rochester, he has 116 hits in 49 at-bats. That's a batting average of 258, an on-base percentage of 324, and a slugging of 514. Now, that's very comparable to a lot of players in the majors. So, AAA, I mean, it's a difference, but he's up there. Like, he's not been doing bad. An 838 OPS. This guy also has hit a lot of home runs, 22 home runs, 40 walks, does strike out a lot, but he could hit the ball, right? And he's on an 8-game hitting streak of his own. He's got multiple hits in almost every game. 7 of the 8 games he has multiple hits in. This guy has been tearing it up, and he's definitely a guy, again, who can help us. He is an outfielder. We have a lot of outfielders, but he's a guy who we can take off the bench and maybe get a hit for us. He can steal some bases. He's an all-around good player. And again, we just need help. Like, of course, with Buxton being injured, Rosario's been hurt a little bit. We can't have Cave play outfield every day. He's a guy who we could stick in there, and he could help us, all around. Like I said, on the base pass, hitting, defensively. This guy's not bad. And I think we could give him a shot. The numbers don't lie. He's not the greatest, but he could really help us. That's basically the common theme of this whole thing, right? These prospects who are finally going to make their major league debut or get called up, they're not the greatest players, right? That's why they're not in the majors yet. But they're working towards it, right? They're getting set up for it so they can come back next year and be really good and get that taste of the majors so they could help the team, right? That is the point of September call-ups, is to give some guys a rest, help your team win some games down the stretch. So these are 4 guys who I think could help the team moving forward before September call-ups. Other than that, though, I want to hear what you guys have to think about a couple of the other players, maybe these guys. Let me know who you guys want to see called up. Other than that, that's all I got, and we will see you next time. Peace out.